Hey, my name's Zachary Walker. I'm 30 years old and I own a small coffee shop called Brew Haven in Richmond, Virginia. It's tucked away on a quiet side street near the James River, the kind of place where locals come for a quick latte or to sit with a book on rainy afternoons. The shop isn't much. Exposed brick walls, mismatched wooden tables, and a chalkboard menu. I update myself every morning, but it's mine. I built it from scratch 2 years ago, pouring every penny of my savings into it after everything fell apart. Before that, I was in a stable job at a marketing firm with a girlfriend who I thought was the one, and a best friend who was also my business partner. Turns out they were the ones for each other. Lauren and my so-called buddy ran off together, leaving me with a shattered heart, a pile of debts from our joint ventures, and a whole lot of trust issues. I haven't dated since. Haven't even gone to a social gathering that wasn't work-related. My life these days is just the shop. Early mornings grinding beans, late nights balancing books, and crashing in my tiny apartment above the store. It's small, cluttered with old books and half-empty coffee mugs, but it's a sanctuary from the memories that still sneak up on me sometimes. That night started like any other reluctant attempt to get back out there. My buddy Tyler had been nagging me for weeks about this blind date. "She's my cousin, just moved back from New York," he said. "Smart, funny, and she could use a fresh start too. Come on, Zach. It's been 2 years. You can't hide in that coffee shop forever." I rolled my eyes but agreed, mostly to shut him up. Deep down, I knew he was right. I was stuck in a rut, replaying the betrayal over and over like a bad movie. So there I was, at the Magnolia Room, a cozy Italian spot downtown decked out for Christmas. Twinkling lights strung across the ceiling, the scent of pine from the wreaths on the walls, and soft jazz playing in the background. The place was filled with couples laughing over wine, their faces glowing in the candlelight. I felt out of place, like an intruder in someone else's holiday card. I sat at table number 7, fiddling with my napkin and checking my watch every few minutes. The date was already 18 minutes late. I started brainstorming excuses to bail, maybe a sudden emergency at the shop, like a leaky espresso machine. Anything to get back to my quiet routine. That's when I spotted her. At table 12 near the window overlooking the snowy street sat Elaine Harris, Lauren's mom. It had been 2 years since I'd seen her, but she looked almost the same. Elegant in a red dress that hugged her figure just right, her silver-streaked hair pulled into a loose bun, and those kind eyes that always made you feel seen. She was 48 now, but she carried herself with a grace that made her seem timeless. Back when Lauren and I were together, Elaine had been like a second mother to me. She'd invite me over for Sunday dinners, her famous Virginia-style pot roast with all the fixings, and we'd talk for hours about everything from my dreams of opening a coffee shop to her stories from her days as a librarian before she retired early due to health issues. She was the one who encouraged me to quit my soul-sucking job and chase my passion, even gifting me a vintage coffee grinder as a good luck charm. After the breakup, I ghosted her too. Couldn't face the reminders. I sent one awkward text apologizing for missing her birthday party, and that was it. No replies, no follow-ups. I figured she'd moved on just like everyone else. But tonight something was off. Elaine sat alone, her posture a little slumped, staring at her phone with a furrowed brow. The waiter approached with a bottle of red wine, saying it was pre-ordered by her date to celebrate. She forced a smile, but as he poured, she shook her head gently. "He won't be coming," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the hum of the restaurant. I strained to hear more, something about a last-minute cancellation via text. My stomach twisted. I knew from mutual friends that Elaine had gone through a brutal divorce last year. Her husband of 25 years had left her for someone younger, forcing her to sell their family home to cover the legal fees and debts. She'd moved into a small condo and her health had taken a hit. Stress-induced migraines, sleepless nights. The idea of her sitting there, dressed up for a blind date that never showed, hit me harder than I expected. It reminded me of my own humiliation, but worse. She deserved better than to slink out alone while everyone around her celebrated. I glanced around. No one else seemed to notice her quiet distress. The couples were lost in their own worlds, the staff bustling between tables. Before I could talk myself out of it, a wave of protectiveness washed over me. the same feeling I'd had when she cheered me on during my lowest points. I couldn't just watch her suffer. Taking a deep breath, I stood up, smoothed my shirt, and walked over to her table. "Elaine?" I said softly, my heart pounding. She looked up, her eyes widening in recognition. "Zachary, what are you—" I didn't let her finish. Pulling out the chair opposite her, I sat down and leaned in, keeping my voice low but firm. "I'm sorry I'm late, Elaine. The traffic on Broad Street was a nightmare. There was an accident blocking 2 lanes." She blinked, confusion flickering across her face, but then understanding dawned. She glanced at the curious eyes turning our way and played along with a tentative nod. "Oh, yes, of course." I was starting to worry. The waiter hovered nearby, still holding the wine. I turned to him with a smile. "Everything's fine now. Could we get 2 glasses, please?" As he poured, I felt the room's attention shift. Whispers started, people noticing the reunion. My pulse raced, but I pressed on. Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out the small silver ring I'd carried since my grandmother passed it down to me years ago. A simple band with a tiny engraved leaf, my lucky charm through tough times. I slid out of my chair and dropped to one knee, holding it up. "Elaine Harris," I said, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear, "will you do me the honor of marrying me and save me from this awkward delay?" The restaurant went silent for a beat, then erupted in applause and cheers. Phones came out, capturing the moment. Elaine's eyes met mine, a mix of shock and gratitude. She hesitated, then nodded, her voice trembling but steady. "Yes, Zachary, I will." I stood, slipped the ring onto her finger, it fit surprisingly well, and pulled her into a gentle hug. The scent of her perfume, familiar from those old dinners, flooded me with a strange sense of relief. For the first time in 2 years, I felt like I'd done something right, not just for her, but for myself. As the cheers died down, she whispered in my ear, "Thank you, Zach. You have no idea what this means." In that moment, neither did I, but it felt like the start of something unexpected, pulling me out of my isolation and into a story I never saw coming. As the cheers and applause finally tapered off, the waiter returned with a complimentary dessert, a decadent tiramisu dusted with cocoa and a side of fresh berries. Elaine and I sat there, the ring glinting on her finger under the soft restaurant lights, both of us a little stunned by what had just happened. The other diners went back to their conversations, but I could feel lingering glances our way, the kind that come with a viral-worthy moment. I leaned in closer to her, keeping my voice low. "Elaine, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. I saw you sitting there alone and it broke my heart. No one deserves to be stood up, especially not you." She looked at me, her blue eyes searching mine, a mix of surprise and something warmer, gratitude, maybe even relief. "Zachary, that was unexpected. But thank you. Truly. I was about to leave and pretend none of this happened." She glanced down at the ring, twisting it slightly on her finger. "This is beautiful. Is it—" "From my grandmother," I confirmed. "She gave it to me before she passed. Said it was for luck. I carry it everywhere. Silly habit, I guess." I paused, realizing how impulsive the whole thing had been. "Look, we can end this right now. I'll explain to the waiter it was a joke or something, no harm done." But Elaine shook her head, a small smile tugging at her lips. "No, let's not. At least not yet. It's been a long time since anyone's made me feel special like this, even if it's pretend." We clinked our wine glasses, and for the rest of the evening we played along. I asked about her life since the divorce, careful not to pry too deep, and she shared bits and pieces, how she'd downsized to a cozy condo in the Fan District, taken up painting as a hobby, and started volunteering at the local library again. In turn, I told her about the shop's struggles, the slow months when I barely broke even, the loyal regulars who kept me going. It felt easy, natural, like slipping back into an old friendship. By the time we finished the dessert, the awkwardness had melted away, replaced by genuine laughter. As we walked out into the crisp December night, snowflakes just starting to fall, she slipped her arm through mine. "Thank you for tonight, Zach. You turned what could have been a miserable evening into something memorable." I drove her home, the ring safely back in my pocket after she insisted on returning it. "Keep it for now," I said lightly, "in case we need to pull off Act 2. She chuckled, waving from her doorstep as I pulled away. That night, lying in my apartment with the hum of the city outside, I replayed the scene in my head. It wasn't about romance or revenge, it was about kindness, about not letting someone you once cared for face humiliation alone. Little did I know, it was just the beginning. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop as I prepped the shop for opening, grinding fresh beans, wiping down counters, the familiar routine that grounded me. Text from Tyler. Dude, is that you in this video? Viral proposal? Spill. Links to TikTok clips and Facebook shares flooded in. Apparently, someone at the restaurant had captured the whole proposal on their phone, and it had exploded overnight. Hundreds of likes, comments gushing about the sweetest holiday romance. My stomach dropped. What had seemed like a harmless act of chivalry now felt like a runaway train. I was elbow deep in espresso shots when my phone rang. Elaine. Zach, have you seen the videos? Her voice was a mix of amusement and panic. It's everywhere. My sister called from DC asking if I'm engaged to a man half my age. I winced. Yeah, I'm getting bombarded too. I'm so sorry. I didn't think about phones being out. We can clear it up right now. I'll post something saying it was a joke. There was a pause. Actually, can we meet? At your shop? I need to talk this through in person. She arrived just after the morning rush, bundled in a wool coat, her cheeks flushed from the cold. The shop was quiet then, just a couple of regulars nursing their coffees by the window. I poured her a mug of our house blend, black, no sugar, just how I remembered she liked it from those old dinners, and we sat at a corner table. The aroma of fresh pastries filled the air, a comforting backdrop to the awkward conversation ahead. Elaine, I never meant for this to blow up, I started. It was impulsive. Stupid, maybe. But I couldn't just sit there and watch you. She held up a hand, her expression softening. I know, and I'm grateful. But now, well, it's out there. If we say it was fake right away, it'll look even worse. Like we were pranking everyone. My friends are thrilled for me. They think I've finally moved on from the divorce. I nodded, stirring my own coffee absent-mindedly. Same here. Tyler's already planning a congrats party. And honestly, the shop's busier this morning, people coming in to see the romantic barista. But we can't keep lying forever. We brainstormed over refills. Deny it outright? Risk looking foolish. Ignore it. Let the rumors fester. Then Elaine suggested something unexpected. What if we just go with it for a bit, until after Christmas? Pretend we're engaged, do a few public things to keep up appearances, then quietly break up in the new year. No harm, and it gives us both a buffer from the questions. I raised an eyebrow. You sure? That means faking dates, holding hands in public. People will talk. She laughed lightly, a sound I hadn't heard in years. Let them. It's been ages since I've had any fun, and who knows? It might even help your shop's PR. By the time she left, we'd agreed. Fake fiancés for the holidays. I'd tell close friends like Tyler the truth to avoid real drama, and she'd do the same with her inner circle. It seemed harmless, a temporary shield against our respective lonelinesses. The next few days blurred into a whirlwind of engagements. Our first date was a book launch at the local library where Elaine volunteered. She linked her arm with mine as we entered, the room buzzing with whispers. Smile, she murmured. We're the talk of the town. We mingled with her friends, mostly women her age, some divorced like her, who gushed over the whirlwind romance. One even pulled me aside. Elaine's been through hell with that ex-husband. You're good for her. I nodded, feeling a pang of guilt mixed with something else. Pride? We posed for photos, her hand on my arm feeling surprisingly natural. Back at her condo that night, over takeout pizza, we debriefed. That wasn't so bad, I said, passing her a slice. She opened up more then, about the divorce details, her husband's affair, the house sale that left her starting over in a one-bedroom place with mismatched furniture. I felt invisible, she admitted, like I'd lost who I was. I shared my side too, the betrayal's sting, how I'd buried myself in work to avoid feeling anything. For the first time in ages, talking felt cathartic, not painful. Over the following week, our act deepened. We attended a holiday market downtown, strolling hand in hand among twinkling stalls, sampling mulled wine and gingerbread. She picked out a scarf for me to keep you warm on those early shop shifts, and I bought her a small ornament for her tree, a silver coffee cup to match her love for books and brews. Strangers congratulated us. Old acquaintances from Lauren's circle eyed us curiously but said nothing. One evening we cooked dinner at my apartment, simple pasta with her family's sauce recipe, and laughed over wine about the absurdity of it all. Who knew faking an engagement could be this enjoyable? She said, her eyes sparkling. As the days passed, I noticed subtle shifts. Elaine's posture straightened. She smiled more genuinely. And me? The shop thrived with the buzz, but more than that, I felt less alone. Our conversations turned personal, her dreams of traveling post-divorce, my fears of trusting again. It wasn't romance, not yet, but a bond forming, warm and unexpected, like a slow-brewed coffee finally ready to pour. Little did I know, the real test was coming. The whirlwind of our fake engagement carried us through those first weeks like a holiday movie script. Charming, lighthearted, and surprisingly fun. But reality has a way of catching up, and it hit hard one crisp morning, about 2 weeks after the proposal video went viral. I was behind the counter at Brew Haven, steaming milk for a rush of lattes, when the door chimed with a force that made heads turn. In stormed Lauren, her face flushed with anger, clutching her phone like a weapon. She hadn't changed much. Still the same sharp features, the long, auburn hair I'd once run my fingers through, but the warmth I'd known was gone, replaced by a storm of fury. "Zachary, what the hell is this?" she hissed, shoving her screen in my face. It was the TikTok clip, now with over 1 million views, captioned, "Epic Holiday Proposal Goes Viral." I wiped my hands on my apron, glancing around at the curious customers. "Lauren, not here. Let's talk in the back." She followed me to the small office, slamming the door behind her. "You're engaged to my mom? My mom? Is this some twisted revenge plot to get back at me for what happened with us?" Her voice cracked, a mix of rage and disbelief. I leaned against the desk, keeping my tone even. "It's not like that. I ran into her at the restaurant. She'd been stood up. I just helped." The proposal was fake to save her from embarrassment, but things got out of hand with the video. "Fake?" She laughed bitterly. "You expect me to believe that? You've been parading around town with her, holding hands, going to events. People are talking, Zach. My friends are sending me memes about it." I explained the plan, the temporary pretense to ride out the buzz, but she wasn't buying it. "You're using her, or worse, she's using you to feel young again. This is insane." Before I could respond, the door opened. Elaine stepped in, her expression calm but firm. She'd come by to drop off some books for the shop's lending corner, a new habit of ours. "Lauren, that's enough," she said quietly, but with an authority that silenced the room. "Zach didn't do this to hurt you. He did it for me. And honestly, after everything you've put us both through, you don't get to judge." Lauren's eyes widened. "Mom, you're defending him? After we... She trailed off, the old wounds reopening. Elaine crossed her arms. "Yes, I'm defending him. Because he's been kind when no one else was. And Lauren, I've spent the last 2 years picking up the pieces from my divorce. Your father's affair, losing the house. Starting over alone. If this silly charade makes me feel alive again, even for a little while, then so be it. You need to let me live my life." The air was thick with tension. Lauren stared at her mother, then at me before muttering, "This is messed up," and storming out. The door slammed again, leaving Elaine and me in heavy silence. She sighed, sinking into a chair. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that. She's still raw from everything. Our family falling apart, her own regrets." I shook my head. "It's okay, but maybe this is a sign we should end the pretense now." Elaine looked up, her eyes tired. "Not yet. Let's see it through." The confrontation with Lauren was just the spark. Word spread like wildfire in our small Richmond community. That afternoon, my phone lit up with calls from Elaine's relatives. Her sister Rebecca from DC was the most vocal, leaving a voicemail. "Elaine, what on earth are you thinking? Engaging a man young enough to be your son? Is this some midlife crisis? Call me. We need to talk before you make a fool of yourself. Elaine played it for me later, rolling her eyes but clearly stung. Rebecca's always been the judgmental one. She means well, but she doesn't understand. At the shop, opinions split like a fault line. Regulars I'd known for years stopped by with mixed reactions. Mrs. Jenkins, a widow in her 60s, patted my hand approvingly. Age is just a number, dear. Love knows no bounds, good for you two. But others whispered behind their mugs, isn't she his ex's mom? That's weird. A local blog even picked it up, running a piece titled Richmond's Holiday Heartthrob, Real Romance or Festive Faux Pas. It detailed the viral video speculated on our whirlwind affair and quoted anonymous sources questioning the age gap. Comments poured in. Some supportive. Who cares? They look happy. Others vicious. He's probably after her money, or worse, revenge on the daughter. The pressure built over the next few days. Elaine started dodging social invites, her usual confidence waning. One evening, as rain pelted the windows of her condo, she called me over. I arrived with takeout from our favorite Thai spot, Pad See Ew and spring rolls, her comfort food. We sat on her couch, the TV muted on a holiday movie, and she finally opened up. Zach, this is getting to me more than I thought. Rebecca's texts keep coming, warning me about gold diggers and midlife delusions. And the stares at the library today. People I know, looking at me like I'm a scandal. I set down my fork, reaching for her hand. It felt natural now, after all our pretend touches. I'm sorry, this was supposed to be fun, not a burden. If ending it now helps... She squeezed my fingers, her voice soft. It's not just that. What if they're right? What if this blows up and you get hurt too? People saying you're ridiculous, chasing an older woman for attention, or whatever twisted reason they invent. Her eyes met mine, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. You've been through enough with Lauren. I don't want to drag you down. The rain drummed harder outside, mirroring the storm in my chest. I thought about the past 2 years, my isolation, the walls I'd built. But being around Elaine had cracked them. Elaine, we've both been hurt. You with the divorce, losing your home, starting over. Me with the betrayal that made me question everything. But these past weeks, they've shown me we're stronger together. If we can't please everyone, at least we can be true to ourselves. Screw the whispers. We've earned a little happiness, real or not. She leaned her head on my shoulder, a quiet sob escaping. You're too good to me, Zach. I don't know what I'd do without this, whatever this is. In that moment, holding her as the storm raged, I realized it wasn't just pretend anymore. The line between act and reality had blurred, and a real connection, deep, undeniable, was taking root. But with the world closing in, I wondered if it could survive the scrutiny. The storm that Lauren's outburst ignited didn't let up. In fact, it escalated into a full-blown tempest just days later. It started with the innocuous ping on my phone during a quiet afternoon at the shop. A notification from a local Facebook group. Richmond Romance Exposed? Attached was a screenshot from an anonymous post by one of Lauren's old friends, spilling the beans. That viral proposal? Total fake. He did it to save her from a bad date. Now they're pretending to be engaged for clout. Creepy, right? Age gap drama. Our town fake love. Comments exploded beneath it, hundreds in hours. Some were mild. If it's fake, why keep it going? Others cut deeper. He's using the mom to get back at the daughter. Pathetic. Or worse, she's desperate, clinging to a guy half her age. Midlife crisis much? By evening, it had spread to TikTok stitches and Twitter threads, hashtags like #RichmondFakeProposal trending locally. Elaine texted me, "Have you seen this? It's everywhere." I rushed over to her condo after closing, finding her on the couch, scrolling through her phone with a furrowed brow. The rain from earlier had stopped, but the air felt heavy, charged. "Zach, this is what I feared," she said, her voice steady but edged with weariness. "The truth's out, twisted into something ugly. We look like liars now." I sat beside her, running a hand through my hair. I know. Lauren's friend must have overheard something. We can ignore it. Let it die down. But she shook her head. No, ignoring it makes us seem guilty. We need to address it head on. That's how we ended up huddled over her laptop that night, scripting a response video. No fancy setup, just us on her couch, the Christmas tree twinkling in the background. I hit record on my phone, and we spoke from the heart. "Hi, everyone," I started, glancing at Elaine for reassurance. "By now, you've probably seen the proposal video and the rumors flying around. The truth is, it started as an act of kindness. I ran into Elaine at the restaurant. She'd been stood up on a date, and I couldn't let her face that humiliation alone. The proposal was improvised to turn a bad night around, but as we navigated the fallout, something real happened. We found comfort in each other, a friendship that's helped us both heal from our past. It's not a prank or a scheme. It's two people supporting one another in a world that's quick to judge. Thanks for the kind words from those who've reached out. We appreciate it more than you know." Elaine chimed in, her tone warm but firm. "We've both been through tough times, divorces, betrayals, starting over. This wasn't planned, but it's brought joy back into our lives. If our story resonates, great. If not, that's okay too. Just know it's genuine now." We posted it to TikTok and my shop's Instagram that night. I braced for backlash, but the response was overwhelming in the best way. Views climbed into the thousands, then tens of thousands. Comments flooded in, "This is beautiful. I went through a divorce last year wishing I had someone like that." Another, "Age doesn't matter when it's about healing. You two are inspiring." People shared their own stories. Women in their 40s recounting heartbreaks from cheating spouses, young guys like me opening up about trust shattered by exes. One message stood out. A woman from nearby Chesterfield wrote, "Your video gave me hope after losing my home in a messy split. Thank you." Elaine read them aloud, tears in her eyes. "Zach, look at this. We're not alone." The tide turned almost overnight. The negative buzz faded, replaced by support. Even Rebecca called Elaine the next day. "I saw your video. I was wrong to judge so quickly. If he makes you happy, that's what matters." Lauren texted her mom too. "I'm sorry for freaking out. Let's talk soon." It felt like a weight lifting, but it also forced us to confront what was brewing between us. A few days later, on a clear Sunday afternoon, I suggested we take a drive out to the cemetery on the outskirts of Richmond, where my grandmother was buried. It was a peaceful spot, rolling hills dotted with old oaks, the winter sun casting long shadows over the headstones. We parked and walked to her grave, a simple marker engraved with "Beloved Mother and Guide." I hadn't been there in months, but it felt right to bring Elaine. "She taught me everything about kindness," I said, brushing leaves from the stone. Her favorite saying was, "Hold on to the people who bring you peace no matter what the world says." We sat on a nearby bench, the air crisp with the scent of pine from distant trees. Elaine opened up first, her voice soft against the quiet. "My marriage. It wasn't all bad at first, but over time the lies built up. His affairs, the secrets. When he left, I felt worthless, like I'd failed at everything. Starting over alone in that tiny condo. Some nights, I wondered if it was worth it." She paused, wiping a tear. "But being around you these weeks, it's reminded me I'm still here, still capable of feeling joy." I took her hand, the gesture familiar now. "I get it. After Lauren and my friend, I shut down. Built walls so high I forgot how to let anyone in. But with you, it's different. You're not just kind. You see me, the real me, scars and all." The words hung there, raw and honest. I swallowed hard. "Elaine, I don't know what the future holds. This started as pretend, but it's not anymore. I want to be there for you, for real. Through the hard stuff, the judgments, all of it." She turned to me, her eyes shimmering. "Oh, Zach. Thank you for giving me a second chance at feeling alive. I didn't think it was possible after everything." We sat in silence then, hands intertwined, watching the sun dip lower. The video's aftermath had eased the external pressure. Relatives backing off, Lauren reaching out for a tentative coffee meetup with her mom. But more importantly, it had cleared the path for us to face our own truths. What began as a rescue had evolved into something profound, a bond forged in vulnerability. As we drove back, the city lights twinkling ahead, I knew we were ready for whatever came next. 3 months after the dust settled from our truth-telling video, life had transformed in ways I never imagined. Elaine and I weren't just surviving the scrutiny anymore. We'd become something of a local legend in Richmond. People stopped us on the street to share their own stories of unexpected love, and the shop thrived with a steady stream of supportive customers. "You're proof that happiness can come from the most unlikely places," one woman told us over coffee one morning. Even Lauren came around. She visited Elaine's condo for a heartfelt talk, apologizing for her outburst and admitting her own regrets about how things ended with me. "I was selfish back then," she said, "but seeing you two, it makes me happy for Mom." Elaine hugged her tightly and slowly their relationship mended. Family dinners started happening again. Awkward at first, but warming over time. As spring arrived, the city bloomed with dogwoods and fresh starts. One afternoon, as I was wiping down the counters at Richmond Brew after the lunch crowd thinned, the bell above the door jingled. Elaine walked in, radiant in a light sundress, carrying a bouquet of lavender, my favorite, and a small velvet box. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of nerves and joy. "Zach," she said, setting the flowers on the counter. "Can we talk? Alone?" I flipped the closed sign and led her to our usual corner table. The shop was empty, sunlight streaming through the windows, casting a golden glow over everything. She took a deep breath. "Remember that night at the restaurant? The fake proposal that turned our worlds upside down?" I nodded, smiling. "How could I forget? Craziest thing I've ever done." Elaine opened the box, revealing a simple silver band etched with a subtle pattern. "Well, today, I want to ask you for real. Zach, you've shown me what it means to be seen, to be cherished after feeling invisible for so long. Will you spend the rest of your life with me? Not as a story for others, but as ours?" My heart swelled, a rush of emotions hitting me: gratitude, love, a profound sense of rightness. I dropped to one knee, pulling out Grandma's old ring from my pocket, the one that started it all. "Elaine Harris, you've healed parts of me I thought were broken forever." Yes. 1,000 times yes. Just then, a few lingering customers who'd snuck back in erupted in applause, cheering as I slipped the ring on her finger. We stood, embracing amid the laughter and well wishes, tears streaming down our faces. In the end, it wasn't about the viral video or the judgments we faced. It was about finding someone who sits with you in your darkest moments, who sees your scars and chooses you anyway. Elaine taught me to let go of the past, not erase it, but build beyond it. Together, we've created a life filled with quiet mornings over coffee, shared dreams for the shop's expansion, and a love that defies expectations. The world keeps turning with its opinions and noise, but we've found our peace. And that's all that matters.